We're live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. We'll give everyone just a minute or two, and we'll get going. It looks like the Facebook feed is having some struggles, so
Yeah, no worries.
yeah, it's okay.
I'm
I don't
up here.
think I'm
I'm
not
up.
sure anybody watches on Facebook, so we'll go with YouTube, and we'll just be on YouTube today.
Sounds good. You're on YouTube twice. You're on my channel as well.
Yes, excellent. All right, I'm glad that connection worked. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, hey everybody, thanks for joining. Looks like we've got a couple people already in the chat. Brian, as always, Brian, we are here, so welcome. And Matt in the hat, yeah. And Jen, hey, good to see you all. Yeah. Thanks for coming. Today I'm talking with the Long-Winded One, and we're going to talk about his Royal Road novel, Get Trucked, as well as his Celtic themed series. I managed to read the first one, got it right in under the wire, The Children of the Cold Moon. So we'll talk about that one as well. So thanks for joining, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Yeah.
I'm used to the one doing the whole introductions thing. So this is great. I'm glad to just be here and to answer questions, Reck. And it's so nice to be here with you.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm glad we finally got to connect. We met at LitRPG Con, and you interviewed me a little bit about stumbling up, you know, during the con. It was crazy. It's
It was
crazy.
insane, and the internet there was crazy. So our interview that we filmed, I think, actually didn't it glitched out,
Like, yeah,
and then I interviewed you after the fact, and you were cool then, but I didn't realize how cool you were until I got to know you a little better these last few months.
yeah, it's been cool. I just want to give a thank you. So if you haven't followed Long-Winded One's podcast, go take a look on it on YouTube and go follow it. Um, you do a great job, and people maybe don't know this about you, but you've also kind of masterminded the Google Calendar for all the podcasters so that we don't step on each other's toes, which is just awesome. So if you haven't followed the Google Calendar, go follow it, because then you've got all the postings of where we're all at when.
Well, what's cool about coordinating a little bit is that everybody kind of has their own thing, right? So we tend to we don't interview the same people, but there is a little bit of overlap. But even on the overlap, my show is 30 minutes, and it's very specific towards fan theories or lore that might have not made it into audiobooks and novels, and so you can do both without feeling like people are repeating themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I am really looking forward to the Stumbling Up one. There's a few mysteries out there that we're gonna. You're like, is there some unsolved stuff in the book that we can talk about? It's like, yes, there's some spoilers that we can get into. I'm excited. It's gonna be fun.
So that'll be June 7th. You'll be with
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, it's so exciting. Yeah, I should all the fingers and toes crossed have book 2 out by then too, so it'll be even more content to talk about. So, but anything else you want to say about your podcast before we get into Get Trucked?
Gosh, well, I've been doing it since 2018, and I started off as it was I serialized a D&D campaign that I didn't know I was going to podcast. So it's just me and friends. I did this Adventures in Middle Earth campaign, and somewhere after the campaign, I was like, what would be really cool is if I intersperse these episodes with interviews with Tolkien experts. And that turned into a 3-year project, and I interviewed some of the most world-renowned Tolkien experts in the world, and then season 4 came around, and I was like, I kind of want to do something different. So I DM'd a campaign set in Symbia and Forgotten Realms. And after the campaign, I'd read the entire Symbia novel line. And this was before Wizards of the Coast basically disassembled their novel line. Really, there's only a few people still writing. R.A. Salvatore, I'm blanking, but there's only a few people. And so I wrote scripts of basically what happened during that campaign, and then my D&D buddies and I recorded it, and so it's this really cool. And then I got to interview Ed Greenwood, the creator of Forgotten Realms, and all of the authors that wrote the Symbia books, right? So part of this for me has always been about interfacing with like experts in the field or historians or authors, narrators, and probably around the same time I started podcasting, I got into LitRPG back in 2017, 2018. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do a next season 5, I'm like, I'm going to do LitRPG, folks. And so the focus that season was to take Royal Road authors who hadn't published yet, and particularly hadn't put out an audiobook, and to pair them with a professional narrator who donated 10 minutes of their time in order to like advertise their
Do a cold
services.
read. Yeah.
Yep. So it was like an advertisement for the narrators. It was a way for people, and there's some people who are like always rolls a one, hadn't done an audiobook yet. He does a hero's life, soldier's life, and a gladiator's life, and a number of other
Yeah.
things.
Soldier's Life is one of my favorite audiobook reads in the last 6 months or so.
Yep. So he found his original narrator on my podcast, and a few other people too. And I got to know some really cool people. And that was so much fun. And I got to interview some of my favorite, like Eric Ugland was on there, a number of other people. I met Jonathan McLean, and then I was like, I need a break. And then LitRPG Con happened, and I came back refreshed. And I was like, I'm going to do season 6.
Doing it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's my plug.
Yeah. And most of the time you're recording at least on like Sundays, Saturdays, Sundays ish.
Yeah, almost always. Yeah. There have been a few people like Troy needed to I was going to do Troy next Sunday, and he needed to do Wednesday, but I was like, sweet. Then Hunter can come in. So because I had filled up every week, and I was like, I don't want to add like more than one person per week, but I was dying to get Hunter Mythos in there. So he's going to do Sunday, and then I'm going to do Troy on Wednesday next week.
Nice. Well, check it out. Go follow Longwinded1 on YouTube and check out those videos, especially if you're like into that. This season is fun because it's the spoilers and the mythos of the novels and stuff. So you get a little bit deeper than that superficial, like, what is this book about? So if you've read the book, go check them out. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, but let's talk about your books. Right?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. So Get Trucked is on Royal Road right now, so you can go follow it, like it, rate it, read it. Maybe not in that exact order, but it is a vehicle-based lit RPG, which honestly for me, this was one of the first reads of this kind for me. The main character has a terminal illness and is tapped by the Endrs to extend his life. He only has to help out by isekaiing people with his car.
That's the nice way to put it.
Yes.
So I have this debate going on with somebody right now on Railroad about because it has the anti-hero tag, a number of other tags too, but this reader is like, this character needs to have the villain tag. And I, like at first I was kind of like, wow, I don't think he's a villain. But then I just took a step back, and I was like, this is great that people have such strong feeling. Like he reads it every week, right? This reader reads it I think it's he, it could be she. And but like is adamant Max is a villain, and he tells me over and over again why Max is a villain. And but that's so cool. I mean that people feel so passionately about that.
Yeah, Gary's like, wait, he drives the truck that's isekaiing people, and yes, he does. So I mean, he's a villain in the way that like all lit RPG main characters are villains with a murder hobo on.
Yeah,
it is a little bit more in your face though, because I mean it takes place in like real world, like our world, so you get a little bit more of that realism of like he is mowing people down a little bit.
Yeah. Can I, for the sake of Gary or anybody else who wants to know a little bit, so the idea came about at LitRPG Con. We went out for dessert. We walked a few blocks down to the train station, and there's this nice dessert place in there. And I think it was the day before everything really got started. So everybody was kind of arriving and meeting people, and there were meetups for dinner and desserts and coffee and everything. And so I just joined a group of people that I didn't even know, and we all,
As you do.
as you do, and we all went down for dessert, and we were sitting around and we were talking about isekai, and Truck-kun came up, and this idea that people get isekai by getting hit by trucks. Obviously, we've all
Yeah.
read that. And
Many times.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I started thinking, what would be cool is to, instead of writing a book about somebody getting portaled, which we've done, which I've done, to write a story from the point of view of the person doing the hitting, and why is this person doing this? Is it really an accident? Probably not. And that's how I met Reck. Gary says, yeah.
Yeah. Not running me over with the truck at random dinner at LitRPG Con. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so I wrote down this timeline for you so I could tell you exactly. So let's see. So we were at LitRPG Con in July of 2025. And I started Get Trucked October. So I had finished my second Celtic book. So I have them here if you want to see them. So the first Celtic book is Children of the Cold Moon. The one I finished right after LitRPG Con was called The Breaking of Anun. This is book 2 in the Four Treasures saga, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And then immediately that same month, after coming off of LitRPG Con, I decided to start writing Get Trucked, and so I started writing it, and quickly was like, okay, so the main character is gets dubbed basically to be a part of the Endrs, as Reck said. The Endrs is an acronym. I wish I could remember it now. It's hold on, I'll tell you. I have this.
I've got it. Yeah, it's the I've got it written down here. Bureau of Afterlife Dispatch. Oh, but what is Endrs, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So here we go. So the Bureau of Afterlife Dispatch is the main bureaucracy that works for death, right? And there are 3 divisions in that. The Endrs, and you can see it here a little bit on the app.
Yeah, go check out the app.
So the app, so Endr stands for Earth's Next Dimensional Relay System. And then eventually the people that were Endrs they just named that department the Endrs. And so they have an app that works kind of like a rideshare app. And I designed the app so that people reading the book could go in and like see firsthand what Max, the main character, sees on the app. And you get assigned a person, and then it maps to the person's location. It tells you who wants the transfer, right? What world they're getting isekai'd from, or to, rather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons where it like takes the murder aspect out of it, right? Because you're like, oh, they're going to like this other fluffy, heretical fishing like world or whatever. And unless they're not, which happens a couple times too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so that's why the person is like, well, this person is a villain. He's killing them, running them over. I'm like, he's not actually killing them, which is how he justifies it in his head. But keep in mind, to everybody on Earth, right, the person is dead, right? It's so
totally dead. Yep.
And so there's this thing in the book where the person that passes the reins to Max is like, people don't make it past level 20. Enders don't make it past level 20 for that reason, because it takes a toll on you. And you see, because you're staying as an Endr, you're staying on Earth, and you're seeing the outcome of what you've done and how it's affecting people. And anyway, so he gets the reins from Dan Driver is the original Endr's name, and Max Ryder is the main character's name. So all of the characters in the book have a pun name, right? So the main female, not even really love interest, but kind of, her name is Lainey, right? We have another Endr named Axel Rhodes is his handle.
Yep. Yep. I mean, it's full of puns and fun stuff. And so let's get into that a little bit. But first, before we dive deeper into the book, when folks see you at cons this summer, do you want to go, do you want them to come up to you like, hey, Long-Winded One or Jared, or how would you prefer to be addressed in those spaces?
I mean, like I always say, I've been called much worse. So, you know, so
Hey,
you
you.
can, hey, yeah, right. So, yeah, the only thing I don't really like is I just, there's people that call you like, hey, chief,
Mm,
like big guy. Just, just call
yeah.
me Jared, please. Um,
Yeah.
I think like originally, so this is the first season I've done the podcast where I've come on camera. Before now, I wrote under a pseudonym. I podcasted only audio because I work with kids for a living, and I wanted you got it, boss. I knew it. I knew I should have never gone there.
Truck daddy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was my mistake.
Yeah.
um,
Oops.
okay, chief. Anyway, yeah. But this season I decided, I wanted, it's fine. Like I met people at LitRPG Con, they saw my face. It's not a big deal. I just
Mhm.
try to keep my professional life and my writing and podcasting life a little bit separate. That's all. So yeah, Jared
Yeah.
is just fine.
Yeah, it's a rude awakening when you come back from LitRPG.con and you got like this pseudonym and all this stuff, right? And then you've got like 20 people requesting your real Facebook friend. It's like, yeah, well, okay, yeah.
Well, I didn't have a Facebook until Lit RPG Con. Then I was like, like Twitter or whatever they call it now, it wasn't really a thing anymore. Blue Sky didn't really take off all that much, and so I did actually use Twitter back in the day to like get in touch with people, but
Hmm.
Facebook is so much more effective for that. So
Yeah.
I just have an author account. I don't have a personal
That's smart. Yeah,
Facebook
yeah.
account. Yeah,
You can post in the all the forums and stuff where everybody's sitting, hanging out.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So let's get back in the book. For folks who are listening in, we're going to open it up to questions from you as well. So if you've got questions about Enders or about Get Trucked, start putting them in there. But the main character starts. So one of the aspects that we haven't talked about in the book is that the main character starts off with this Chevy Chevelle, and as he executes his job, um, he gets upgrades for his car. Like there's this progression mindset, but it's about the car itself. So he doesn't start off with the truck. But can you talk to us a little bit about the vehicle progression?
Yeah,
And you
no,
can do that really in the app too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So part of this visualizing this sometimes is difficult, especially when you're listening on an audiobook or you're reading and you maybe forgot. So the app is great for that because it shows you visually and you can kind of equip and unequip certain things. Yeah. So there are certain things that happen, and I pulled up my notes here so I could share you specifically, but the progression in the book is exactly the same as the progression in the app, so you can kind of follow along. So the vehicles it goes so Endr's level 1 to 100. And it starts off levels 1 to 10 are beaters essentially. Levels 11 to 20 are your kind of basic pickups and sedans. Then the mid-range trucks and SUVs. Then the upgraded trucks and the sporty cars. Then the heavy trucks and the muscle cars, and then exotic and big haulers, and so on and so on. And you get
Yeah.
eventually you get the armored and the sort of the heavy trucks and the legendary trucks and god tier vehicles.
Are
And
you a car guy in real life?
it's funny. So there's another category of upgrades, right? So the vehicles upgrade, and then the actual upgrades of the car themselves upgrade. So you get things like harpoon guns and like the roof hatch with the rifle mount and the nitrous boost and the drone scouts, and like these are also 1 to 100. So and then you get guns in the glove box, or as Lainey calls them, the boot, because she's from England, right?
Yeah.
So there are different guns, and you start off with little pistols. Actually, you start off with a little Derringer 2-shot, which he uses and becomes one of his favorite guns. This little tiny 2-shot gun.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I am neither a car guy nor a gun guy. Um, so this was a stretch for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you pull it off. I mean, the books. It's. I mean, just I. And I was gonna talk. We're gonna talk about your other series too. But you're very well researched in what you're doing, and it comes across as very, like you're a gun guy, car guy.
Oh,
You know what you're
well,
talking about.
I mean,
So.
a lot of my friends are. I mean, I don't have any problems. I live and let live. People, one of my best friends is a police officer, and actually was kind of a little bit of an inspiration for Max, who is a state trooper in training.
Mhm.
And what's cool about, I wrote two really long books, like 800, 900 pages of Celtic stuff. And I had to do a lot of research for that. And it was like, it takes so much longer to read that or to write that. But I wanted something set in a world that I knew. So this is Get Trucked is set in Boston, or the greater Boston area.
Mhm.
And it takes place all around the place that I've lived all my adult life. I'm not from here originally, but it's like a love letter.
Yeah.
And so I did have to do a lot of research on like what the state police training program was like, and these are places that I've been, places that I love. And it was, the disclaimer in the front of the book's a little bit different than the other one. The other books basically say like any representation made in this is completely like an accident or whatever,
Fictional. Yeah. Yeah.
fictional. This is very different. I basically say real businesses, organizations, and locations mentioned in this book are not affiliated with, sponsored by, or endorsed by this work. So it's a very different.
Yeah.
Just
Like. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, please don't sue me.
I love it. It does have that realist. Like, I mean, that was going to be, one of my questions is how real are these places? Because you do get this very much this sense of like, this is our world. These places exist. That bar that, the lady gets mowed down in front of is a bar that exists in real life. That
Yep.
street, at least, because part of the book is, he's an Endr and he's trying to get away with it without getting caught. And so there's a lot of just like, how do you go about doing this, and swapping out your car, or
Yeah.
planning out the perfect isekai event, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, and there are some upgrades that help with that. Like at the higher levels, you can get like camouflage for your car.
Mhm.
Swapping between cars actually helps if you're being pursued, right? Because then you
Mhm.
can be in a different car. And also, switching between cars actually heals the car as well. Um, and there's a point in the story which that really comes in handy. But yeah, I mean, so it takes place in Charlestown, South Boston, Wollaston Beach, a little bit up in Acadia, Maine. He takes a short trip up to Acadia, Maine to get out of the city to try to escape some things that are pursuing
The
him. I don't
heat
want
died down. Yeah.
to.
And yeah.
Well,
Well,
there's some.
it was the yeah the yeah.
Yeah. So
We don't want to give away too much. There's
well, I
there's
don't
just
mind.
other forces besides the cops that are after him.
Yeah, so some weird
Yeah.
stuff is going on inside of BAD, the inside of the bureau, and you know, weird stuff is happening. He's trying to mow these people down, and then he finds himself having to defend himself against these strange creatures,
Mhm.
and then he finds himself like almost competing against the other Enders for various reasons. And then the dispatcher, the person who gives him out, which is called the dispatcher in his case, it's all geographic, right? So there's one dispatcher in the greater Boston kind of New England area that handles three Enders, and the handle for the dispatcher is named Fourth Wall, and um, the fourth wall is a little, not, I wouldn't say shady, but like everybody is like giving him advice, like be careful what you tell the dispatcher, right? And the dispatcher can spy on him all the time because part of the phone there's like electronic surveillance on it. There's cameras.
Not
There's
like real life at all. Yeah.
you're right. Yeah. Wonder where I got inspiration for
Yeah, I
that.
wonder.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. We're gonna get
Um,
commercials for Get Trucked as we log off of this podcast. Yeah.
so the funny thing I'll say about Fourth Wall is I was downtown. Gosh, I don't know. I don't know what I was doing downtown, but there's like a bar called the Fourth Wall, and I was like, how cool if this restaurant or this bar would like showcase in my story because of my dispatcher's name. And so like, I got a chance to like roll this into it. I got a chance to talk to there's a guy that works for the city of Boston who like sent me all of these underground pictures of like subway lines, like abandoned subway stations and subway lines, because that plays into the story. And so like it was just so much fun. You mentioned research, and that kind of stuff is fun to me, and to like, and that's what like historic fiction, or like in my eyes like fun fiction has like a hint of truth to it, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I could
Yeah.
just yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your other series.
Sure.
And I think this is a good segue, right? Because one of the things that you're writing really specifically does is it brings that element of realism, or that, like I said, you're really well researched, and it comes across not in like a boring way, but in a way that makes like the story seem more real. And with your Children of the Cold Moon, that book is so heavily influenced by Celtic folklore. So talk to me a little bit about why Celtic folklore, like why this book, what did you do to research it? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, much like you, who just got back from Ireland,
Yeah.
my family is, among other things, Scotch Irish. And I've always kind of been fascinated with Celtic culture. And, I got a chance a few times to go over to England and Wales. I've never made it to Ireland or Scotland yet, or the Isle of
Yeah.
Man, or, any number of other places.
Highly recommend. You should get over there.
Yeah, it's on my list. I started having children, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't change that for the world, but it has hindered my world globetrotting
Yeah.
presence. So, but the first time I was over there, I heard a story about these druid stones in a town called Cowent in Wales, which is about 11 miles east of Newport. So kind of just over kind of the Welsh line. And and there's this town Cowent is an old fortified Roman settlement, and probably just barely as far northwest as the Romans got. Um,
Yeah.
they made it to just north of Newport and Carleon, but that's 11 miles, and it wasn't as big of a civilization. Cowent in its heyday held 3,000 people, and they couldn't defeat the Celtic tribes, so they ended up bribing them. They built them a big city with Roman technology, and sort of pacified the Silurs, which was the Celtic tribe that lived in that area. None of this has anything to do with Children of the Cold Moon, but it inspired me. And it is actually the place where the first scene takes place, right? It was my first novel, and I felt very comfortable kind of going there and having that be the launching off point of the book. So in the very first couple of chapters, Bren, who is our main character, has amnesia, and I know that's a little overdone, but like it makes sense in this case. And he's with he calls him his manservant, and which he realizes the person he knows is actually named Morius, and Morius takes him to the Druid stones, the ones in real life, and they end up going into the Celtic otherworld on Midwinter's morning. Which it's a real thing. Like there are these Druid stones on the hill. It's called Grey Hill now, but it used to be called Wolf's Hill. And there's a notch in the hills across the Severn. And if you look across the hills, and they line up perfectly with these notches in the Druid stone, and that's how the early Celtic tribes knew when to sort of begin their agrarian year, right? The days would start getting longer, and they could kind of start the process that way, planting crops and whatnot. And I loved that part of it, and that's the way my book starts. And
Yeah.
his the story in this book is about very, very much like he's very much like a selfish, not even I wouldn't say he's unlikable, but he just there's a lot
Yeah.
of room. There's a lot of room for growth in this first couple of chapters, and
Hmm.
he's growing up very quickly and discovering that his place in this world. Like he goes into the Celtic otherworld and realizes that it's a mess, and there's like factions of people who are fighting, and he becomes very close with a fairy character named Theoden, and I gotta just say I got a note from so let me start over. So my first book was narrated by a narrator named Chris Tucci, who's a friend, and he did a fantastic job. And my second book, The Breaking of a Noon, which came out, um, the paperback and the Kindle version came out last November. The audiobook's going to be coming out this spring. And
Hmm.
I decided when I wrote The Breaking of a Noon that I wanted it to be from 4 different characters' point of view. And I reached out to Andrea Parsnow and Neil Helligers, and I was like, "Hey, you guys, like,
What do you
would you
think?
would you
Yeah.
guys consider doing like?" I went to Andy and I said, your voice inspired
I
Theoden.
mean, yeah.
It did. And it was the attitude in a character named Popper in Dominion of Blades. I don't know if you've
Hmm.
done the Matt Denman Dominion of Blades, but Andy did those 2 books, and hopefully there'll be a third at some point when Matt has a little more time. Um, Popper inspired like that attitude that Popper had. Popper was this little girl who a character like I think he was a police officer from New York got put into this little girl's body, and she just had this spunky. Um, oh, Gary says that he's finished the third Dominion of Blades. That would be awesome if that's true.
Yeah,
Um,
that would be cool.
but Andy inspired the voice, and so when I decided to write this second book, The Breaking of a Noon, from 4 different points of view, which was an undertaking, let me tell you,
Yeah.
I was like, it would be so cool if you could do Theoden since you inspired her, and she agreed, and
That's awesome.
she emailed me tonight and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna have your files done by the end of the week," and and then and Neil Helligers is doing my Fomorian Kai, and he has that deep voice, and
Yeah.
he does these great Irish accents. Like he goes for a walk, and he does he'll do Hamlet on the just on his walks, and I knew Neil from the 5th season of my podcast. He came on. He came on to to talk about his books, and I got a chance to meet him at LitRPG Con, and so the Breaking of a Noon will be out. The audiobook will be out. It's out now. You can get it on Kindle, but the audiobook will be coming out probably, I would say, May or June, in time for LitRPG Con. And we'll be doing a giveaway again. Gary will be doing a giveaway for that
Yeah.
again, probably on Reddit.
Gary's saying that Matt said he is going to finish it, not that he has finished book 3 of Dominion of
Oh,
Blades, but
okay.
yeah. But yeah, so that audio sounds epic. And just getting on like Neil's and Andy's, schedule and getting all of that like figured out had to be just a small miracle. And I mean, I listened to book 1 and book 1's audio was great. I mean, I'm excited
Yeah,
for
no, it's
book 2.
so my narrator Chris, he's coming back to voice Bren in the second book. He's already given me his files. I met a fantastic narrator named RJ Bailey, who is actually Scottish, who plays Tig, my kind
Yeah.
of aristocrat, and then Neil does Kai, the Fomorian, and Andy does the fairy character. And so I've intentionally, this book series is a trilogy. I'm gonna hold it fast. I'm not going past 3 books, but I've held off starting to write book 3 until I get all of the audio files back, because I want to. In a lot of ways, their voices impact what I write.
Hmm.
I don't know if you're the same, but I feel
Yeah.
like I have to put it on hold until I get a
So you can
feel.
hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know, absolutely. I mean, I'm working with Jeremy on Stumbling Up, and yeah, there were some character voice choices. And I was like, book 2, I'm really leaning into some of the voice that comes across. It's amazing how much the audio breathes life into the book. I mean, if you look even at like, everybody's read Dungeon Crawler Carl, right? I think about that. Like, would Dungeon Crawler Carl be Dungeon Crawler Carl if it weren't for Jeff? And
I mean, it's a
yeah,
great book, but absolutely not. I mean,
Yeah.
it really, I've told narrators this before. They have a talent that most authors don't have. Like we create the worlds, but then they breathe life into it. They really
Mhm.
do. And speaking of which, Jonathan McLean is going to be doing Get Trucked. That will be
Ah,
out. Yeah, so that will be out April 1st, an audiobook. This will be out. I actually had my first copy yesterday or today. And so that'll be out May 4th in paperback, June, I think that's what I said, June 1st on Audible.
yeah,
I believe that's
that's
right.
awesome. All right, well, let's get into that. Okay, if you've got questions, put them in the chat, because we're going to get into a little bit about, Jared's process and Royal Road and how he's lining up all these dates and getting files from narrators on time and all the rest of it. But if you've got any questions about either series, put them in the chat and we will get your questions answered. But so book 3, you said you haven't started it yet because you want to listen to the audio. What's your timeline look for book 3 in
Well,
general? And we promise we won't hold you to this.
yeah, so I should have files, I think, from Andy and Neil by the end of this month. I should have them off to the leveler, and probably have them back in at the end of March, and then I'll probably, either in April or June, probably in April I'll get the pre-order for Get Trucked, and I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but it's
Mhm. It's
when
okay.
you're remind me your question one more time. I'm sorry, I got off on a tangent.
Yeah. General timelines for book
Oh
3.
yeah. Oh, okay. So that's where I was going with this. Okay. So I'm kind of in audiobook mode right now, and I'm putting off book 3 until I listen to it. But I also have the book 2 of Get Trucked that I want to write. And I'll do the title reveal tonight if you'd like. It's
I would love that. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
truck around and find out. So TAFO.
yeah.
So that will be so, and I want to write that. And I feel like that would be an easy lift for me to go right into the next book. But I'm kind of holding off on that a little bit. And then I have another series that I want to start, um, uh, which I'm hesitant to tell anybody
If you
about.
have time in the day, I mean, you've got family, day job, podcast,
Yeah,
three
but
series maybe.
but I mean, just like you do what you love.
Mhm.
Like I don't, my free time is spent in books and with books and
Yeah.
writing books. And I think it's my favorite way to spend my time outside of my family and things. But
Mhm.
um, yeah, so I have, so the next series I could see actually happening, is going to be called Anunnaki, the Lit RPG. And it's, I'm gonna piggyback on the ancient aliens, craziness. I'm not gonna go totally down that road, but I have a really fun idea for that, which I've already started writing. Um, and there's something about like, I don't know what it was, Spaceballs or like, I forget what it was, like very Mel Brooksian. I was like, Anunnaki. I could say Anunnaki, like a lit RPG adventure, but I think like Anunnaki, the lit RPG, like sounds very like 80s Mel Brooks.
Yeah, yeah,
And I was like, oh, that's it. That's going to be the next series.
yeah. You might want to wait until after LitRPG Con in case you go to dinner again and have series number 4 coming out of you. But yeah, no, that's crazy. Are you like eager to start that right now, or are
Well,
you gonna hold off a little bit?
yeah. So I've
You're
actually
like, I've
already,
already got half a book 1 written. It's in the
yeah. Well, so I've already started Anunnaki, and I'm kind of just I'm trying something a little bit different. For me, I like the short chapters. I think they're very positively reinforcing for readers. At least they are for me. And so I tend to do like 5 or 6 page chapters. It also works out very well from like a narration standpoint because I know every chapter that I write is about 10 minutes long. So when you're kind of planning out, the cost of narration, that's a very
it's a
easy
easy, yeah.
easy number to sort of plan around. But I feel like sometimes, not always, but sometimes there's more I could write in each chapter, and then I don't want to rush the ending of each chapter. So I want to try something a little bit different with Anunnaki, and that's the chapters I'm going to try to be like twice as long, so like 10-page chapters, just so I can kind of like take my time writing and really flush the chapters out. That's more of a challenge for myself. And yes, Gary, I am a little bit long-winded. Sometimes I distract myself.
Mm-hmm. Do you think so? A lot of LitRPG authors in our audience might not know this or not. Maybe they do, but a lot of LitRPG authors who have short chapters, it's because they're on Royal Road. So we're told that on Royal Road, people expect, around 2,000 words, plus or minus 500, maybe up to 3 or 4,000, but people expect shorter chapters to just smell through. And so when you're chasing, rising stars or, good ratings and stuff, short chapters are the way to go. Are you going to put Anunnaki on Royal Road, or are you going to do this more
I,
traditional?
I don't know. I've put every story that I've written so far on Royal Road, and I had pretty, I think pretty decent success with Get Trucked. Certainly more than the Celtic novels. But at the time I didn't know anyone, and I was kind of following a formula that you know the authors that I had interviewed for my podcast were like, okay, you need to do shout out swaps, you need to do review
Yeah,
swaps,
yeah.
right? Like
There's
there's
so much advice for
and
how
I,
to do Royal Road.
I was like, all right. So I did that, and I took it a little bit too far in terms of doing shout out swaps and review swaps, and I was like, this is stressful. And honestly, people frown upon that sort of thing, and I didn't know,
Mhm.
because I don't know. I'm a producer. I'm not a consumer on Railroad, and so I didn't know that was a thing. So with my Get Truck series, I'm not doing any review swaps, um, which is a little humbling, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I took some notes here, so just to tell you. So I made it on, I think, 14 of the Rising Stars
Mhm.
lists, and I made it on Rising Stars main for about a week, which is, I'll
That's
take that.
still it's an accomplishment. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
I'll take that as a
yeah.
win.
So let's pause for a second because some of our listeners don't really understand Royal
Sure.
Road. So Royal Road is a web serial platform that's free that a lot of especially lit RPG authors get their start on, and it's pretty commonly understood that you get successful in Royal Road, you're going to be successful once you get off, like once you publish to Amazon or whatever. And a lot of publishing lit RPG specific publishing indie presses and small presses will look at Royal Road success as like a way to recruit people. That's just how people get their start, right? Um, there's a lot of metrics that go into Royal Road. So Rising Stars is it's this weird algorithm where if you generate a bunch of ratings, reads, like
Follows. Yeah.
yeah, follows. There's all this stuff
Favorites.
that you don't really know what it is, but like you get to generate enough of those in a short enough time period, you get on Rising Stars, which is published out to readers, and a lot of readers will pick up whatever they're going to read next off of this Rising Star list. And it's like the top 50 of that week or moment or whatever on Royal Road, right? 50 or 100? I don't remember.
It's 50. Yeah.
50, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty difficult to get on, especially if you're not like an established. There's some people like Raven's Dagger, I think gets on there with everything because he's got such a following. But as a new author, it's a lot harder these days to get on Rising Stars. But there's all these sub lists, right? So like you could get on Rising Stars for comedy or for violence or for anti-hero or like a bunch of the subcategories that are out there. You can be the most popular comedy and maybe not make the main Rising Stars, but if somebody's looking for a comedy, you're going to pop up on that list,
Yeah.
right? And so there's a lot of Reddit conspiracy theory sort of rabbit holes you can travel down on, like what do you do to get on Rising Stars? And I mean, there's so much advice out there that
I mean, I can tell you what I did if you're interested,
yeah,
or
great. I'm
if it
positive
helps
there's a few
people.
people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I took notes this time. So the first thing you want to do as a writer on Royal Road is not just, you don't want to start writing a story and then put each chapter on there, and you can do that. But if you want to get on the Rising Stars list, you need to have a backlog of chapters, right? And so the very first day, I put out 10 chapters,
Yep.
and then each day for 10 days following that, I put out a chapter. And so you have this base of chapters that people want to read, and you have to have, I forget how many words, but there's a word
I think it's like 20,000
20,000. I,
words.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
So before you're eligible for Rising Stars, and I think I was on Rising Stars like very. So I started posting January 5th. I think in my notes I was going to be eligible for Rising Stars based on the number of chapters I was putting out by January 9th. So 4 days later. Um, and I actually got on Royals. Let's see. So I was on a sub list 3 days after I posted, January 8th, and then I was on main at the end of January. So from January 25th to February 1st. So it took about not quite a month, but it took 20 days to get on Rising Stars main, and then so then I for like 2 months I'm posting twice a week, and then from February, the end of February through the end of April, I'm doing once a week. But once you're off of, there's all these trackers out there, and you can basically watch as you fall off Rising Stars, you fall farther and farther away
Yeah.
from the top 50, which is fine. I'm still on 5 of the Rising Stars sub lists. I think low fantasy, local protagonist, urban fantasy. I was very happy when I made profanity the sub
Yes,
list.
I also celebrated profanity. Yes,
Uh,
profanity and violence, and yeah,
yep, yep.
yep, yep. It's interesting because some of the authors that have been around for a while, like Sour Patch Hero, will talk about like he didn't make Rising Stars until like a year, like he'd been posting for a long time, and I mean, I'm not sure. The problem is the algorithms change, so some of that advice is maybe not pertinent for where we're at posting. But for the most part, it's considered you have like your first month or two is your chance to make Rising Stars, and so that launch is like super important. So if you are a reader and you've got a friend that's launching their first or second or fifth Royal Road novel, make sure you go and follow and comment and like and rate and leave a review. It's crazy because as a writer, you watch these reviews come in, and every review can bump you a couple hundred in the standings. Um, and
Well,
and it's crazy because even like a 4.75 star can bump you down like 10, 20, 50 spots, and it's like it's wild because it's based on that algorithm where gold star is 5-star review, and
well,
somebody leaves an actual review.
so
Yeah.
my Celtic novels are in 45th place on Royal Road right now for overall, whatever the main list. And when I started Get Trucked, it was 2 years later, and I had really forgotten the process because it had been 2 years. And
Hmm.
and when I posted the first few chapters, I was in 64,000th place.
Yes,
So
yes.
it's a
Yeah.
little bit. It's like I said, it's a little bit humbling. And I had already decided, look, I'm not doing review swaps. So like,
Mhm.
let the chips fall where they may, right?
Yeah.
And I just want to echo what you said. Like, if you have loved ones or friends that are posting stories, like, give them love, follow, and favorite, and leave a review, and or leave a rating. But if you have time, also leave a review. Reviews worth more to the authors
Yeah.
than just a rating. And if for no other reason than to just balance out there's a lot of like
Because there's a
point.
lot of people that just review bomb. So review
Yeah.
bomb is when you leave a low rating that's like obnoxiously low. Um, and then it just kind of tanks somebody's score. And there's nothing really, I mean, like, I did have like a review that I challenged with Royal Road and actually won the challenge because somebody like read the first chapter and were like, this is AI. And it's like, I mean, like,
Yeah.
what do you, it wasn't, you know. Um, but for the most part, you're kind of helpless in the face of the general public, and so it helps when people pile on love for you.
Yeah.
And so just some other terminology that we use is review swaps and shout out swaps. So shout outs are basically you run kind of like a mini ad for somebody else's work at the top of like your chapters. And so it's really common practice for like me to be like, hey Jared, you want to do a shout out swap? I'll shout out your story, you shout out mine, and then our fandom will, you know, maybe go visit that other story, because it sounds interesting or whatever. Review swaps are a little bit different. That's where like somebody might be like, hey, I'll review your story if you review mine. And it kind of, it's one of those things where some people do it, some people don't. It's a little frowned upon, but most of the time people can't tell. And, like,
I didn't
it's all
know.
over the
Yeah.
place. Yeah. And that's the thing. There's a lot of advice out about Royal Road that you just don't,
Yeah,
I,
the way I
yeah,
looked at review swaps was that it was counterbalancing the review bombs,
yeah,
and I don't understand. I mean, I don't understand why they allow anonymous reviews or ratings rather. I mean, I think
mhm,
everybody should have to put their name with a rating or a review, but that's just me.
yeah,
I would never. I would never consider going on a website where people are putting out free content and like and just like ruining somebody's day, right? If I didn't like something, I probably just wouldn't leave a review, but that's just me.
yeah, yeah. And there's whole books almost on like how to even like like write your blurb in Royal Road so that the reader knows what they're getting, because if they think they're getting like a romance and they're getting lit RPG, then they'll review I mean, there's just a ton of stuff out there.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because with the downfall of Immersive Inc., which used to be one of the main discords where people would go for advice on Royal Road, and there's a whole community wrapped around that. Yeah, I mean, I think the rules are changing again. So
Well, they certainly have changed in the last 2 years, and
yeah,
not just not just the rules, but like culturally what's acceptable. Because I really did just follow other people's advice, and they've changed a lot
yeah,
between my first book and my new series, and I think you just have to roll with it. And the other decision I made for this series was that if I was going to do a shout out swap, not a review swap, I'm not doing this. If I was going to do a shout out swap, it was going to be with people that I know and people that I could really endorse their work. So, you know,
yeah,
anyway,
yeah. No,
it's a great process, and for the most part, people are really positive, and it's a great way to get feedback on your stories. Like I have all my chapters queued up. They go right now. They're going on Mondays and Fridays, and I wake up to like 4 or 5 comments, and
yeah.
it's just kind of fun.
It is. It's fun. I had never like considered writing a serial before stumbling up and finding out about Royal Road and all the rest of this. And it is crazy how motivating it can be when you read those comments and people are like talking about your characters or like what's happening over here. I mean, even when they're like, hey, you misspelled this, there's a typo here or whatever. Like even that's encouraging because it means people are actually reading and paying attention enough to catch that stuff. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So
yeah,
when I sent Jonathan my files to do the narration, I was like, this has been edited, right, like multiple times. I said, but it's possible that the Royal Road savants will find a comma that's out of place. So,
yeah,
but other than that, we're good. But yeah,
yeah,
I'm sure somebody will find something.
yeah. It's a fun platform.
Yeah.
Okay, so any questions from the audience about Royal Road or that process? One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, though, about Royal Road is that unlike many authors, you actually have like a copyright AI disclaimer at the bottom of each and every one of your chapters. And can you talk to me about the reasoning on that and what led you to decide to do that?
Well, actually, an author friend recommended that I do it. So
Yeah,
I know other people do it. I had somebody complain about it this week, and I was like, really? It's at the end of the chapter. If you don't want to read it, you don't have to.
yeah,
And it's free. But okay. So yeah, so I didn't do that for my first series. I had an author friend recommend that I do that with this series, and the reason it stuck in my mind, and I did it was there are websites out there, particularly overseas, that love to basically crawl sites like Royal Road and basically steal content. So
Linked it. Yep.
right. So even if you are like my run is going to be up. So the last chapter, chapter 40, and both the prologue and the epilogue will post on April 27th. I'm giving people a full week to read the whole thing if they want to. If they're not done with it, and then I'm going to have to pull most of that off when the book comes out on May 4th.
That's called
And
stubbing. For those of you who don't know, you have to take your book down to put it on Amazon, or else they will flag you for KU content.
yeah. So Kindle Unlimited is like an exclusive thing, right? So you have to take electronically. You have to take it off of all of the sites. Patreon, there's some discussion about that, and Royal Road, and so my Celtic story is out there somewhere. I don't know what country is hosting it, but I can't do a DMCA request. They won't honor it. Their DMCA request email, in fact, bounces back. And so it's intentionally set up that way. I've contacted the domain, I've contacted the host, and nobody is able to really do anything about it. And so the reason I put the copyright in at the end of each chapter is if they do kind of automatically scrub Royal Road from my books and they post it somewhere else, the copyright basically says if you're not reading this on Royal Road, it is it's been stolen. Because they don't actually look at each chapter, right? They
It's
electronically
just a scrape. Yeah.
scrape. Yep.
Yep.
And so that's I know it's annoying to some people, but I mean, again, it's free content, and
Yeah.
and it's
A
at
little
the
bit of protection.
end of the chapter. So I'm hoping to not, like, people don't have to go through it. They can start the chapter, and then there's a very clear demarcation line when the copyright starts.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we got a couple comments. Al saying goes back to your third series that you're starting here. I'm hooked on Ancient Aliens TV series. I'm looking forward to reading your book. Yeah, it's funny what hooks get people. Like and piano. I think this was talking about just like the small things that matter really do matter. Sometimes that's the ratings, the reviews, the follows, the comments. Roll Road. I mean, all that stuff matters. It doesn't just matter on Roll Road. It also matters on Amazon, Goodreads. Um, Whatever, like the Ingram Spark platform, like if it's on Barnes and Noble, all of the comments and reviews matter. And I don't know, do you review a lot of other people's work online?
Yeah, if I read it, absolutely. All those review swaps that I did, I actually read the content, and I got some really, like, there was some really good stuff out there on Royal Road, and
Yeah.
and made some really good friends, so absolutely I try to. I'm more at this point, at this stage, I have more ideas than I have time, so
Yeah.
I don't even listen to as many audiobooks as I want to, because I find that it messes with my kind of stream of consciousness thinking on my drive to work. I'm like, no, I gotta work out this scene, right?
Yeah.
I can't be listening to somebody else's book. But
Yeah.
I wanted to just comment here on this. I'm hooked on the Ancient Aliens TV series. Yeah. So I had the idea yesterday that I would reach out to the narrator of that show, which has been on for like 20 seasons, and see if he would be interested in doing that book. Because how cool would that be? Like,
That would be amazing.
that's
Yeah.
the voice that
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd be interested or not, but that would be so cool.
Yeah. Well, we have hit crazily. We're hitting the end of the hour, so let's do a few of the business keeping. Just a reminder to those folks, if you're interested, Pop Pop at the Hour is on with Ben Wolf, Jeff Hayes, Ryan Reed. So go check it out. It's the beginning of the Road to Jordan Con series. So check that out. My next podcast is tomorrow with Rin Stryker. We're going to be talking about the Silent Blade. I think it's Silent Blades. I can't remember. I'm blanking on the novel I just read. But Ren's new book that came out like here just in the last couple of days, and Tamer's Gauntlet also on Royal Road. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Jared, when's the next time we can catch you online? Where are you going to be at?
Actually, I'll be on In Other Worlds podcast, on Jess's podcast, on
Yeah,
Saturday, and
excellent.
then Hunter Mythos at 3 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, and Troy Osgood next Wednesday I think I moved it to 9 so that I didn't interfere with. I think Pop Pop's on at 8. So we're going to be right after Pop Pop next Wednesday. So
Yeah,
yeah, so
excellent.
it was released today. Nice.
Oh yeah, yeah. Ren's book, Silent Woods. Yep,
Oh, nice.
yep. Okay. What's the best place to track you? Or Patreon, Facebook? You have a Facebook now. Not
I
doing Twitter as much.
No, no. I mean, you can go to my website, longwinded.1, to check out the podcast seasons and books, and all the links. There's some great videos from Lit RPG Con last year, and
Yeah,
Reck and I both will be there. Pop Pop will be there.
it's
I'm
gonna be
sure
awesome.
it's just going to be there. We're gonna be trying to cover it as much as we can, and I'd love to meet you. Come up and say hello.
Yeah, don't be a stranger. And give us a book recommendation for Pop Pop here. What would you add to Pop Pop's TBR? What's something that you've read that you really liked?
Oh man. Um, well, I just started Operation Bounce House today. So I'm literally on the first chapter. So I can't say to add that yet, although I'm sure he's already reading it. Um, gosh, I think read all the stuff from my friends. Read Stumbling Up, right? Read the Foundry Edition. Read I'm Not the Hero. Read, and I'm sure those are already on Pop Pops, and Pop Pop is already,
Hopefully, yeah,
yeah, yeah. So,
yeah.
you know, Jonathan McLean, anything that he does, whether he's a writer, he's written scripts, he's written books, he's acted, he's done narration, anything that he does is gold. Eric Ugland, another friend who I just love his series, and my kids love his series. So the good guys and the bad guys and all the guys. So yeah.
Yeah, love it. You can tell you're like a lit RPG fan, right? Like you're in the genre, you're with us. Coming to Jordan Con, or not Jordan Con, coming to lit RPG Con. Writing the Isekai Get Trucked. I can't wait to see where that series goes.
Yeah,
It's gonna
and
be awesome.
Jonathan's going to take it to the next level. So I'm hoping
Wow.
you guys will check it out in June 1st.
Yeah. All right. Thanks everybody for joining. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Go join Pop Pop's feed.
We'll be
Thanks
there.
everybody.
All
Yeah,
right,
we'll be
thanks.
there. Have a good one.